On Plugged In, decades of political and economic setbacks in an island once known as the Pearl of the Antilles. A poor country rocked by seismic forces, political dysfunction, and an authoritarian past. What's behind the angry protests, the demands for the resignation of an unpopular president?
This is a polarized country. This country is more than divided.
Is there still hope for what the World Bank calls the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere? Trouble in paradise, on Haiti, and the politics of survival. Hello and welcome to Plugged In. I'm Mil Arcega, filling in for Greta Van Susteren. With a new year and a new decade nearly upon us, Plugged In looks at a country that is ready to bid good riddance to the 2010s. A decade that began with a natural disaster is ending with more bloodshed as violent protests demanding the resignation of Haiti's president rocks the Caribbean island. Almost 10 years ago, January 12, 2010, a magnitude 7 earthquake struck the island nation of Haiti. The damage was catastrophic. Hundreds of thousands were killed or injured. More than 1 million people displaced. Crucial infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and the country's largest port was destroyed. To make matters worse, a cholera outbreak that same year would kill thousands more. The world responded with billions of dollars in aid, from a star-studded telethon to a UN donor conference. But only a fraction of that aid would ever make it to help Haitians. Haiti's president at the time, René Préval, barely escaped the destruction at the National Palace. He was succeeded a year later by Michel Martelly, who left office in 2016 without a successor, underscoring the country's political dysfunction since the end of the Duvalier regime in 1986. Current President Jovenel Moise was elected by popular vote in 2016, but his term has been besieged by massive protests and charges of public corruption. Poverty still grips more than half of the population. Tens of thousands still live in makeshift camps, and very little of the money earmarked for roads and schools has been spent. Poverty, corruption, natural disasters, and access to education remain the most serious challenges for the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere.
I think history, as you've pointed out, has not been on the side of Haiti being successful, especially over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So I think it's a very, very difficult solution. And the hardest part is people have to govern, and leadership and governance matters. And unfortunately in Haiti, the poor people of Haiti have been plagued not only by natural disasters, but very poor administrations and governance for generations now. Now, a bit later, more from the U.S. ambassador to the Organization of American States on U.S. policy towards Haiti. But first, Plugged In traveled to Port-au-Prince to interview Haiti's president, Jovenel Moise. Speaking with VOA journalist Jacqueline Belizaire, Moise acknowledged that his country is deeply divided as he defended his record as president. Moise says he is determined to overhaul the electoral process, but he tells VOA that other politicians are not doing enough to heal the country. Here's part one of our interview with Haitian President Jovenel Moise.
We are in crisis. Actually, this is the most serious crisis the country has faced since 1986. But today, the resolution of the crisis is dependent on the ability of the political actors. I am one of them. I'm talking about having the ability to step up to the plate and convert this crisis into an opportunity, because we've missed out on multiple opportunities already. Let's take, for example, a natural disaster, the 2010 earthquake. After the earthquake, we had the opportunity to convert this catastrophe, this crisis, into an opportunity that would have opened up new possibilities for the country. You see this country. It's polarized. This country is more than divided. Haiti has been torn, and this tear has made the actors blind. You know why the actors are blind? In a political fight, everything is fair game. I am not a president who is attached to his term. I am attached to reforms. I came here to change things. I am the son of peasants. This country is a part of me. So I want to be clear. I've said, and I'll repeat, President Jovenel Moise is not attached to power. He is attached to reforms. What do I mean by reforms? As I've said before, this country, which has lived by a constitution for 32 years, is ungovernable. And I'm saying that my role in the reform process is working towards a new constitution that will benefit the next president so he can truly govern. Let me answer you once and for all. The electoral ballot. I went on an election where we agree only 22% of the eligible voters participated. This means we agreed to say lots of our citizens, who themselves did not want to participate in the political process and should have voted but didn't. So I want to take this opportunity to say to them, the next time there is an election in this country, let's try to have 80% of the voting public participate, so they can say who they want to run the country.
Prochaine élection qu'a pour faire dans pays a battre pour 80% moun al voter pour dire que même moun veut pour diriger. Quel est le pouvoir du président? Le pouvoir réel du président.
What real power does the president have? I'm going to give you an example. Elections. I worked with Prime Minister Sant and his cabinet. We worked out a budget of $40 million. The electoral law was written 14 months ago and handed over to the parliament for a vote. I asked the parliament to meet to vote on it in November of 2018. I organized an extraordinary session to vote on it in May of 2019 to vote on the electoral law, and it wasn't done. If you take the case of Haiti today, what's happening? We see that we have departed from the original popular protests, where people are expressing their concerns and fallen into institutionalized thuggery. People with guns who are out to overpower the police. I want to express my sympathies to the people who have lost loved ones, business owners, street merchants who have lost their stands, people who set fire to cars, merchant stands. I have a special message for them. I want to say that if we do not learn from these mistakes going forward, then we are wrong. I think within the crisis, there are two important factors. One is danger, and the other is opportunity. I personally have chosen the second one, which is opportunity.
Can opportunity flourish under these conditions? Opposition leaders say decades of poverty and political corruption have left Haiti on the brink. Among them, Reginald Boulos, a wealthy businessman and leader of Haitian opposition party, The Third Way. Mr. Boulos tells VOA that a national dialogue is needed, but he says the Haitian people are tired of talking. They want change now. And he told Plugged In the best way forward is for President Moise to resign.
You know what barricades we're talking about? The 5-speed education, the lack of health, the lack of work, the lack of justice, the land of corruption. These are the barricades we are fighting to put out. It's not just the few barricades that put on the street. It doesn't, people who are on the street asking for the president to go, they're not asking for the president to go only. They're asking for the system to change. A system for 215 years, since the assassination of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, has never provided for them. We have one probably of the largest injustice in this country, with 5% of the people owning 80% of the wealth of this country. No, I was a friend of the president. I supported the president. I was the first one to tell him exactly a year ago that where you're going on the wrong directions. You need to start dialogue. You need to start embracing and having a global dialogue in the country. We need to start the proceeding of a new constitution, because that constitution is a source of corruption, of instability. The president has seen it. And I stayed with the president until the publication of the Cour Supérieure des Comptes report, which implicated him in 2 instances of corruption. This is a high-level court which implicated the president in 2 high-level embezzlement of funds and cited his name 63 times in that report. That's when I said publicly to the president, I wrote a letter. I said, Mr. President, it's time for you to resign. And I even offered, I said, let's take 90 days to organize an orderly departure of the president. People did not understand why I did it at the time. But I am for not a departure tonight of the president. But I think this country is not going to go forward with a president who has managed, his most successful thing is that 90% of the population today wants the president to resign. The president has never said to the people of Haiti, I'm sorry for what has happened. he has never taken responsibility to what has happened. This is very important. And when you talk about justice system, why has the president blocked every attempt to go into the Petro-Caribe investigation? Usually, when there is a scandal around yourself, you're the president of the country, you're supposed to set the example, and you accuse of all these things, of today, of blood crime, of money crime, of fiscal fraud. Come on. This is a constitution that excludes people. So we need to change that. Secondly, this is a constitution that allows the parliament to play half a role of the executive. We need complete separation of the powers. We need an executive, a strong executive. We need also a strong parliament who controls. Listen, the opposition is multi-parties. Okay, let's be clear about that. My movement, the Third Way movement, has never requested to put a president while the president is in place. And I go even further. I can envision for a while a cohabitation with the president and a power sharing within the government. I don't have a problem with that. My issue is that this is a president that has committed crime. I think there is a common goal of asking the president to resign. Besides that, they might not be the same. I'm not interested in sharing the power for the next 2 years. My party will not participate in the sharing of power for the next 2 years. My party wants a new constitution. My party wants national dialogue. My party wants free and fair election. I want to go to election. That's what I'm interested in. And I want power to election. I don't want power any other way. And if that president had not committed this crime, I would never ask for his resignation. I'm already sharing my wealth because I pay. I heard Bill Gates say, I don't see why I should pay another tax on my wealth because I already paid taxes of it. I paid $18 million. I don't know what they do with it. They steal it. They use it to have their gang assassinate people. That's what they do with my money. I paid $18 million just last year, and that's what I've paid every year. So I pay my dues, and that's why I have the right to speak. We're asking for the president to resign. Okay. We're not overthrowing any president. Okay, that's very clear. Secondly, I have not met any political people in the US or here since I've become a politician. My views of what needs to be done in the country should not be based on what the US feel or what the US think.
First, a bit of history. U.S. Marines invaded Haiti in 1915 to protect American lives and property interests there. The Marines stayed 19 years, and ever since, the United States has been involved with Haiti in some fashion or other, from propping up the Duvalier regime as a counterbalance to communist Cuba, to using military force to restore Jean-Bertrand Aristide to power. In Congress, the House Foreign Affairs Committee recently held its first hearing on Haiti, the first in 20 years. Members of the Trump administration and the U.S. State Department did not attend that hearing, but that didn't prevent some committee members from sounding off on $2 billion in savings from Venezuela's Petrocaribe oil program that they say was stolen instead of invested into the rebuilding of Haiti after the 2010 earthquake.
I don't know why this president cannot be responsible, along with Martellet, for the accountability of the Petrocaribe money. The demonstrations are not going to stop. And for those who go down there and who send messages, everybody ought to get together, and they need to come together, and they need to talk about this. There's not going to be any talk. The demonstrations are going to go on until this president either comes forward and gives some accountability for what has happened to this money, and he can bring Martellet along with him.
And that was California Democratic Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Haitian President Jovenel Moise is on the record saying he wants help from the United States. Carlos Trujillo, the U.S. ambassador to the Organization for American States, spoke with Plugged In's Greta Van Susteren about the difficulties facing the Haitian people and what it will take for their country to recover.
They have been going through difficulties for quite some time. It's not new. I mean, Haiti's been consistently going through difficulties. Do you see any sort of light at the end of the tunnel for Haiti?
I think the light at the end of the tunnel is they have to form a government. All the opposition and all the party members have to come together.
How do you get them to do that? I mean, this has been going on for so long in Haiti.
It's a very, very difficult task. And I think the international community has an important role to play. The United States obviously has a very important role to play. But at the end of the day, it comes from the Haitian people and from the Haitian political groups that they want to see their country succeed. And unfortunately, not all of them feel that way.
Now, more than 1 million Haitian Americans call the United States home. They're part of the growing Haitian diaspora who play a crucial role in Haiti's economy. Last year, Haitians living abroad sent more than $3 billion in remittances to relatives in Haiti. That's more than a quarter of Haiti's annual GDP. Now, experts say money that flows in from overseas has kept Haiti's economy from collapsing, which is why my next guest says Haitians who live abroad may be the key to the country's future. Albert Decaty is executive director of the Haitian United Front of the Diaspora. He came to the United States when he was 14 years old. He's an attorney now. He was former chair of the Greater Washington Haiti Relief Committee and co-chair of the Haitian Diaspora Disaster Response Unit. Mr. Decaty, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you here. First of all, let me thank you for allowing me to anglicize your name. I know it's pronounced Decaty, right? Probably, or
yes,
something
Decaty.
similar to that. Now, you just heard that this week, Congress just held its very first hearing on Haiti in 20 years. It has to be about time for that. I mean, what are your thoughts?
This was definitely about time to have that. It hasn't been, Congress hasn't had such a hearing in a long, long time. I want to say almost 20 years. I did attend the hearing yesterday as well.
What is the role that you think the United States should be playing when it comes to Haiti?
I think the United States has always a role to play. It is one of our biggest business partners. There's a perceived concept of the U.S. is always behind what's going on in Haiti. So as the biggest democracy in the region, and Haiti is trying to struggle with creating this democracy, America needs to be more supportive in helping the country build this democracy that the people are asking for in the streets.
Now, Mr. Decaty, you suggested when we were speaking to you earlier that there are three things that need to happen in Haiti before real substantial change can take place. And one of them was free and fair elections. The other one you suggested was investments and economic initiatives, and then fighting corruption. What's the most important?
All three. But I would start with sending a strong signal regarding corruption. Corruption is the symptom that's really the cancer that's killing what's going on. All three part of governments are not working, and they all are marred into corruption. And with the people losing confidence in their leaders, you'll have the unrest that you have. The Petro-Caribe challenge and the Petro-Caribe prosecutions and bringing people to court and asking whether the $2 billion of Petro-Caribe money went is a start. Is a start that the country is sending that signal that they're tackling corruption.
Well, to tackle corruption, I mean, it's almost ingrained into the political psyche, right? I mean, ever since the Duvalier regime, 3 decades of that, I don't know how much corruption took place at that time, but it seems to have followed in step with every following president. I mean, is there anything that can be done, I mean, to stop this whole atmosphere of corruption?
I do want to be optimistic that Haiti is not doomed where it is, that we can start working on things. I agree with you that corruption has become so systemic in the system. You have senators that who are accused of taking money for a vote, and that senator went on television to say who else would not take that money. So it's so normalized that people don't even know that they're doing things wrong anymore. We have to get back to basics and fairness and real values.
You're a very influential expat from Haiti, part of the million diaspora that now lives here in the United States. What can folks like you be doing more of in order to help your home country?
Well, the diaspora have been playing a big role, like you mentioned in your introduction, helping sustain the economy by sending 3-point-something billion. Some people say it's 4.2 billion. However, that money needs to be more organized in such a way that it can really get to do things that are that we can look and see what the diaspora is doing. So, but the diaspora currently there are reports that says 80% of the brain of the country is is a big brain drain. So they're living across the outside the country. So there must be a policy, an effort made to actually bring those people back, or somehow to cultivate from that group of people into teaching and bringing business in Haiti and stuff like that.
I just have 30 seconds, but I know one of the things you're trying to do is allow expats to vote in elections in Haiti. How's that coming along?
That is actually part of the electoral law that was sent to Congress that Congress failed to pass. That would allow the expat to be able to cast their vote in the consulate or an embassy.
Well, thank you very much for all that you do, and we hope to have you back again to talking about this in the near future. Thank you so much. Albert Dekady, Executive Director of the Haitian United Front. Now, Haiti's president has made it clear that his country needs assistance from the United States. In fact, he went as far as to send a delegation to Washington recently for guidance on how to fight corruption and maintaining temporary protected status for Haitian nationals now living in the United States. Here's part two now of Plugged-in's interview with Haitian President Jovenel Moise.
It is a priority for us. I told you we talked about it when I met with President Trump. And you see there's been an extension of the status for Haitians, and our Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be following up on that. We have people working on the TPS issue, and we're trying to see how we can help these Haitians and let them know they have a country, they have a government that is working for them and that can defend their interests. The diaspora is an extremely important entity for us. We know their value to our country in terms of financial resources and human resources. I was struck by the outrage when I said we asked the OAS for help. We did not ask the OAS to come resolve our corruption issue. We asked the OAS to give us a hand in reinforcing the institutions that fight against corruption. And that's why I know our Minister of Foreign Affairs met with high-ranking OAS officials November 18th in Washington, where they discussed ways we can reinforce the entire anti-corruption system and the judiciary system too, so that we can liberate this captured state that we are living in. Let's take one example, the Haitian financial system. How can you have a financial system where some are lent money at a 60% interest rate, while for others it's 3%? There's a problem. That's what I'm talking about. We must take a hard look at that. How can you look inside this system? The government has two institutions, the DG and Customs, which generate revenue. And as president, you determine reforms must be made in Customs. You do all the work, and when it's time for the implementation, you encounter resistance. Invisible hands, groups you can't even identify. Why am I talking about reforms today? If I had known, and I want to tell the people who are watching this, previous presidents maybe didn't have the will to do anything. I am an entrepreneur. That means I owned a company that had both private and public contracts. When we landed private and public contracts, we did not know where the money was coming from. We got the contract, we did 80% of the work, they paid us for 35% of the job. The work was done. You're a journalist, you're in Haiti, you can go see for yourself. For Haiti, what is important is that the people are not buried to keep themselves from seeing the truth. And that's why I have said I want the process to be transparent, not just for the Petro-Caribe issue, but also with regards to the fight against corruption. We have reinforced these institutions so that everyone can know the truth and know that the Justice Department is doing its job so that those who have misused government funds are held accountable. But change is never easy. Change is always in process of pain, and it's in that pain we are today. And the change is at a historical juncture in this country. I hope we do not miss this opportunity, so this change can happen and is inclusive, so it does not continue to be a zero-sum game. Today, if you want to change, we can do it together, and definitely put the country on a path to true development.
So what would true development look like? Well, it starts with a vision, followed by leadership, and then action. And it has to start with the young. Here's why. 65% of Haiti's population is under 35, and the median age is about 25. That's why my next guest says the country's youth is where the change has to begin. Cleve Messidor was born in Haiti and moved to the United States when she was just 8 years old. Ms. Messidor is former director of public affairs at the U.S. Department of Commerce. She was appointed by President Barack Obama. She's a founding member of the U.S. Haiti Technology Association and founder of Logos, a social network for blockchain technology. Ms. Messidor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for covering this important issue.
I think it's a very important issue. Now, like my previous guest, you're part of the Haitian diaspora. Yeah. You came here when you were 8 years old. You've made quite a career for yourself. You're a success. But what about those 8-year-olds who didn't have the same opportunities as you and still live in Port-au-Prince?
Yes. My parents made the sacrifice when I was just 4 years old. They left us with my grandmother, myself, and my sister and my brother, and they sent for us 4 years later. That's a very challenging environment to be in when you're 4, your parents leave, and then you're reconnected to them again 4 years later in another country. Yes, at that time in 1981, I was lucky because of the political environment. I think we're in the 21st century. Today, we want people to be able to stay at home, stay with their family, stay in their homeland. But we need to create an environment where it's safe for children to be there, where they shouldn't need to leave their homeland. But I was very lucky in 1981 that my parents had the resources, not just to bring my siblings and I to the U.S., but to do it legally. But I will tell you, in this conversation globally we're having about immigration, it doesn't matter if you do it legally or illegally. Separating families has consequence.
That has to be wrong. Now, I know your heart is still in Haiti, really. You go back quite often, don't you?
Yes.
What is it that you're trying to accomplish going back and forth? You're sort of like a bridge between the world's richest country and the poorest country in this hemisphere. What do you want to accomplish there?
I left when I was 8, and I did not go back really until the earthquake. 2010 was a wake-up call for me, and I was in the Obama administration at the time. And I had a calling that I needed to go back. So after President Obama won re-election in 2013 in July, I left the administration and I went back home to Haiti to reconnect with my homeland. I actually spent 7 months underground in Haiti. The Obama experience was very helpful. I was able to make great connections. But it was very startling to learn how in the U.S. I have an accent. They ask me, where am I from? In Haiti, I look different. They asked me where I was from. So it's very hard for members of the diaspora to go back home. But what I learned is that since the earthquake, many young people have gone back to Haiti using their resources and really investing back in the homeland.
This is a very young country, right? But when I look at the images on TV, I see a lot of young people getting hurt, getting killed. I mean, 200 have been killed since these protests began 18 months ago. What can they do to turn the situation around?
Well, let's be clear, this is not happening in isolation, right? France had the yellow vest protests. We're seeing what's happening in Hong Kong. Globally, every youth all over are looking for change. In Haiti, the challenge is there's not the infrastructure to affect the type of change that they want and desperately need. So you're right, the country is very young and the people there are very passionate. The revolutionary spirit of our ancestors live in them. And unfortunately, the issues are so deep-rooted.
They are. And as always, I'm running out of time, but I just want to ask you one quick question. How is technology going to help?
Oh my goodness. Haiti's tech sector is so critical. It's supported by the Haiti Center for Financial Investment. There's the Haiti Tech Summit every year. There's an innovative incubator called Alpha Haiti and Branch Haiti. Lots going on.
I have to wrap it, but thank you so much for being here. Cleve Messidor, that is all the time we have today. We hope you've learned a few things today about Haiti. Stay plugged in by liking us on Facebook at Voice of America. Thanks for watching and thanks for being plugged in.